If you enjoy true mysteries, please subscribe. SkyFall, a survivor's story. Air travel is statistically the safest way that you can travel, but what happens when it's not? In aviation history, few stories are as astonishing as that of Vesna Vulović. This is the true chilling account of the flight attendant who defied death itself, the mystery of the woman who fell 33,000 feet and survived. It seems impossible, but is verified and well documented. To this day, nobody has survived falling as far as Vesna Vulović. It's January 26, 1972. Vesna Vulović is 22 years old. She puts on her flight attendant uniform and starts her day like it was any other. She had only been working as a flight attendant for 8 months as she boarded Jet Flight 367 in Copenhagen. She is unaware that this routine flight will soon become a fight for survival against unimaginable odds. Vesna wasn't supposed to be on duty the day of this fatal flight. The company had mistaken her for another flight attendant with a similar name and accidentally scheduled Vesna to work. Due to this unfortunate error, Vesna boarded Jet Airlines Flight 367. The McDonnell Douglas DC-9 aircraft she was to be in was a regular on this route, dependable and trusted. The plane was to fly from Sweden to Serbia with 2 stopovers. The first stop was Copenhagen, where Vesna boarded to start work that day. The second stop was supposed to be in Croatia, but the flight never made it. The plane took off from Copenhagen with 28 people on board and reached a cruising altitude of 33,000 feet. The flight was going smoothly and everything was fine. But 46 minutes later, over the Czech Republic, there was a massive explosion. The explosion ripped the plane into 3 pieces. Many of the passengers and crew were sucked out and now falling toward the frozen landscape 33,000 feet below. Miraculously, when the explosion happened, she got pinned in the rear of the plane. This simple chance of fate prevented her from getting sucked out. The section of fuselage she was pinned in separated from the rest of the plane and hurtled towards the ground. Eventually, after falling 33,000 feet, the tail section Vesna was in slammed down into a heavily forested mountainside. The mountain slope, thick with tall trees, was covered in a layer of deep snow, which helped to soften her landing. It was a horrific landing, though. She broke almost every major bone in her body. She was found by a local villager who lived nearby. He found her inside the wreckage. She was screaming, and her uniform was covered in blood. Luckily, the man who found her had medical knowledge and was able to give urgent first aid until rescuers arrived. He later said, "I couldn't believe it. Everyone else was gone. But she was there, alone, and still breathing. If not for this villager, who was once a trained medic in World War II, keeping her alive, she probably would have passed from her injuries. We would never have known that she had survived the fall at all." Vesna was transported to a hospital where she remained in a coma. She had a fractured skull, 2 broken legs, 3 broken vertebrae, a shattered pelvis, broken ribs, and paralysis below the waist. When she awoke from the coma 3 days later, she had no memory of the horrifying events that had taken place. The last thing she remembered was the passengers on board the plane and a loud explosion. Her parents showed her a newspaper article about the crash. Only then did she really believe what had actually happened to her. The hospital doctors told her she would never walk again. But Vesna had other plans. "I refuse to give up," she said. "I will prove that life is stronger than death." She spent 10 months in hospital healing and regaining her strength. And after 16 months of recovery, amazingly, she was able to walk again, although she had a permanent limp because of the damage to her spine. In 1985, Vesna Vulović was officially recognized by Guinness World Records for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. It is one of the most incredible survival stories that we have at Guinness World Records. While she has no memory of these events, it is clear that she'd fallen from that height and survived. And there is sufficient evidence in the official crash report for us to validate this record. Vesna stated, "I was just lucky, but if my story inspires others to never give up, then that's enough." She remains to this day the holder of the record for the highest fall survived without a parachute. Vesna actually tried to resume her job as a flight attendant, but the airline feared the publicity, so they gave her a desk job. Her story became a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable odds, the human spirit can endure the unimaginable. Doctors now think that due to her existing condition of low blood pressure, her heart was prevented from bursting upon the impact with the ground. Shockingly, at her interview for this job, a year earlier, she had actually hidden her condition of low blood pressure. as it would have disqualified her. So she had drank a large amount of coffee before the medical exam to raise her blood pressure to normal levels. She passed her medical exam and got the job. Ironically, this heart condition she had hidden to get the job was also one of the reasons she had survived. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that she may not have fallen from as high an altitude as reported, but this theory was debunked by flight data obtained from the aircraft's black boxes. The data proved that the plane's altitude at the time of the explosion was indeed 33,000 feet. No arrests were ever made in connection with the attack, and no one was ever held accountable for the incident. How a person can survive such an incredible fall is still a mystery to this day. It remains one of the most compelling and astonishing cases of human survival ever recorded. So next time you're up at 33,000 feet, look out the window and remember what happened to Vesna, or try not to. The Bermuda Triangle, a survivor's story. What if I told you there is a man who not only survived its horrors but brought back a story so bizarre, it defies all explanation? This is the true chilling account of pilot Bruce Jernan and his encounter with something not of this world. It is one of the most credible and spine-tingling survivor stories from the Bermuda Triangle. His story isn't just a pilot's tall tale. It's a rare, documented case of someone surviving the Triangle's wrath. His account has been widely studied and yet remains unexplained. Bruce Jernan was an experienced pilot. He'd flown this route countless times. But on December 4, 1970, this routine trip from Andros Island to Palm Beach, Florida, would become etched into history. It was a great day to fly, clear skies, no wind, perfect conditions. But shortly after takeoff, he spotted something strange. A rapidly forming cloud, unlike anything he had ever seen. It wasn't just odd, he said to reporters. It felt alive. The cloud expanded. It swirled into a tunnel shape, stretching across the horizon. He described it as a cylindrical void, unlike any weather phenomenon he'd ever seen. It was as if it was pulling them in. With no time to react, he flew into it, hoping it was just a freak weather anomaly. But as he entered the tunnel, he instantly realized that he was in serious trouble, and now entering into the unknown. Inside the tunnel, the plane's instruments went haywire. His compass spun wildly. The radio screamed. A strange glowing fog soon enveloped the plane, crackling with static electricity. He later called it electronic fog, a mist that seemed to electrify every part of his plane and his body. Then everything seemed to go silent. There was no sound at all. Not of the engine or the wind or his own voice escaped the silence. After just a few minutes, they emerged out of the tunnel, and sound became normal again. Looking at their map, he realized they'd apparently traveled over 100 miles in mere seconds. So in a state of confusion, he radioed to air traffic control for help to pinpoint his position. Ground radar confirmed his sudden reappearance. He had vanished off radar and reappeared minutes later 100 miles away. His flight time was impossibly short. He had arrived in Miami in just 34 minutes, yet the trip should have taken over 75. Air traffic control confirmed that somehow he was 45 minutes ahead of schedule, and yet this was impossible. In an interview about the incident, he later said, "I don't expect people to believe me, but I know what I saw. That fog, it wasn't natural. It wasn't of this world." Jernan's flight that day couldn't just be dismissed as a tall tale. Scientists, pilots, and skeptics alike still debate what happened even now. Some experts say it could have been caused by electromagnetic anomalies such as magnetized plasma clouds or electromagnetic fields that could have caused such distortions. Could this fog have been a manifestation of distorted energy? Some theorists suggest he accidentally crossed a space-time rift, like a rip in the fabric of time, a literal wrinkle in time itself. Others suspect a more military motive, as declassified documents reveal strange tests in that area. Was this a secret test gone wrong? Some theorists point to extraterrestrial involvement, possibly a wormhole or interdimensional portal. We still don't have an answer to these questions. Bruce Jernan's flight remains one of the most credible and terrifying encounters in the Bermuda Triangle to this day. With eyewitness accounts, officially documented radar data, flight logs, and radio calls on record, it is hard to dismiss. If this happened today, we'd call it a glitch in the Matrix. But in 1970, they just called it crazy. Few people live to tell of their experiences. Those who do report similar time slips, electronic malfunctions, and strange clouds. Is this proof that something far stranger lurks out there? Was this a natural anomaly? Or was something far more sinister happening? Bruce Jernan's encounter remains one of the most compelling and terrifying Bermuda Triangle cases ever recorded. So next time you hear about a vanished ship or plane, remember, some who enter the triangle don't just disappear, they enter the unimaginable. The Missing Men. This mysterious disappearance of 3 men from a lighthouse in Scotland is one of the most famous unsolved cases in Scottish history. On a cold December night, the team of 3 men just suddenly vanished without a trace. The 3 lighthouse keepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and William MacArthur, were never seen again. It was a passing ship that first noticed something was wrong at the lighthouse. On the night of the 15th of December 1900, the passing ship was on its way to port when they passed the lighthouse. They noticed that the lighthouse light was off, which was strange, especially in poor weather conditions. After arriving at port 3 days later, they gave this information to the Northern Lighthouse Board, saying something was wrong there. The Lighthouse Board quickly dispatched a ship to investigate. The relief ship arrived on December 26th, 11 days after the passing ship reported the light being off. The ship's captain, Jim Harvey, sounded his horn and sent up a flare, hoping to alert the 3 lighthouse keepers. Worryingly, there was no response. Upon landing, they noticed none of the usual provision boxes had been left on the landing stage for restocking, and none of the 3 lighthouse keepers were there to welcome them ashore, as was usually done. Disembarking from the ship, Joseph Moore set off up the 160 steps up to the lighthouse. Reaching the lighthouse compound, he found that the flagpole had no flag, and the entrance gate to the compound and the main door were both closed, also the beds unmade. Then, entering the living quarters, he noticed on the kitchen table there was a half-eaten meal. Next to that, an overturned chair, and the clock on the kitchen wall had stopped. Also that the lamps had not run dry, but had been cleaned and refilled with oil. He checked the lighthouse logbook and read the final log entry made on December 15th. It stated, "Storm ended, sea calm." He reported these findings to the captain back on ship, and added that the only sign of life was a small canary bird in a cage. The captain sent more crew up to make a more thorough search of the lighthouse area and buildings. Oddly, it turned up nothing but a set of oilskin waterproof clothing, suggesting that one of the 3 lighthouse keepers had gone outside wearing only his shirt. So the search party turned their attention to search the landing platform on the west side of the island. On the way there, still at about 100 feet above sea level, they discovered a supply box. It had been smashed open and its contents spread across the ground. At the landing area, they noticed plenty of signs that the island had massive damage caused by storms. The solid iron railings on the side of the path had been bent and twisted out of shape. Part of a railway track had been torn from its solid concrete base, and a huge rock weighing more than 1 ton had been moved. They also saw that at more than 200 feet above sea level, the grass and soil had been ripped off as far as 33 feet from the cliff edge. There was still no sign of any of the 3 lighthouse keepers, neither inside the lighthouse nor anywhere on the island. In a telegram sent by the search party captain to the Northern Lighthouse Board dated 26th of December 1900, he said, "A dreadful accident has happened at the island. The 3 keepers, Ducat, Marshall, and MacArthur, have disappeared from the island. The clocks were stopped, and other signs indicated that the accident must have happened about a week ago. Poor fellows, they must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane," he said. Arriving on the tiny island on December 29th, the Lighthouse Board Superintendent Robert Muirhead began his official investigation into the keepers' disappearance. Mr. Muirhead had originally hired all 3 of the missing men and knew them personally. Noting the oilskin waterproof clothes that had been left behind, he concluded it belonged to William MacArthur. After going over the wreckage on the western landing, Muirhead speculated that 2 of the men must have headed out into the storm to try to secure the equipment stored out there. When they did not return, Muirhead thinks that MacArthur must have ventured out to try to find them. Muirhead concluded in his official report, "From the evidence which I am able to gather, I am satisfied that the 3 men had been on duty up till dinner time on Saturday the 15th of December, and that they had gone down to secure a box in which the landing ropes were kept in, which was stored about 110 feet above sea level. An extra-large sea had rushed up the face of the rock, had gone above them, and coming down with immense force, had swept them completely away." He also noted that some of the damage to the west landing was difficult to believe unless actually seen. Newspapers and magazines of that time reported that maybe the three missing men had arranged for a ship to take them away and start new lives to escape debts. Some people thought that the men had been kidnapped by foreign spies. The official investigation 10 years later revealed a logbook containing several strange entries between the 12th and 15th of December. In the first entry, Mr. Marshall is supposed to have written that a great storm, the likes of which he had never seen before, had hit the island. It continued that Mr. Duquette was unusually quiet when the storm hit, and Mr. MacArthur, a big strong man not known to be sensitive, was crying in response to the storm. But MacArthur was a veteran mariner with a reputation for fighting, and it would be strange for him to be crying. In the second entry, it stated that the storm was still raging and that all three men had been praying. This was also strange because all three men were experienced lighthouse keepers who knew they were 150 feet above sea level and knew they were safe inside. In the third and final entry, written on the 15th, it says, "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all." This is strange because if anyone had died already, whoever wrote the final logbook entry on the 15th would have mentioned this. There had to be another explanation. Some reporters think that the logbook entries were put into the logbook several years after the three men had disappeared. But why? A cover-up? On hearing about the existence of these logbook entries, many now question the idea that the men had been swept out to sea at all. So, dismissing the fanciful tales of sea serpents and ghost ships, what happened? There are four well-known theories over the years that seek to explain this mystery. The first theory is based on the character of Mr. MacArthur. He was by all accounts an ill-tempered man who was quick to settle an argument with his fists. It has been speculated that he could have started a fight up on the western landing area, which led to all three men falling to their deaths from the cliff. The second theory is that one of the men, probably MacArthur, murdered the other two, ditched their bodies into the sea, and then threw himself off the cliff. While both theories are possible, there is no evidence that either a fight or murder took place. It is of course perfectly possible for men in confined quarters to go crazy, causing all hell to break loose, especially when one of them has a history of violence. But without bodies or a crime scene to examine, these two theories will forever remain just that. Theories. The third theory is that Mr. Marshall and Mr. Duquette were swept away while trying to secure the supplies and equipment on the West Landing. When his colleagues failed to return, Mr. MacArthur went out to find them, and he too perished in the storm. Why Mr. Marshall would head out during such a dangerous storm when they could have stayed safe in the lighthouse is strange, but can be explained by the fact that he had previously been fined 5 shillings for losing his equipment in a previous gale. As a family man, losing 5 shillings in 1900 was a serious matter, so it is likely in trying to avoid another fine, he and Mr. Duquette tried to secure their equipment during a storm and were swept away as a result. The fate of Mr. MacArthur, although he had been required to stay behind to man the lighthouse, can be guessed to be the same. It's suggested that MacArthur probably tried to warn or help his colleagues and was swept away too. This theory also has the advantage of explaining the set of oilskins remaining indoors and MacArthur's coat remaining on its peg, although perhaps not the closed door and gate. Subsequent modern research teams looking at the geography of the island have suggested that because the coastline of the island is deeply indented with narrow gullies called geos, the West Landing, which is situated in such a geo ending in a cave, in high seas or storms, water would rush into the cave and then explode out again with a huge force. It was possible Mr. MacArthur saw a series of large waves approaching the island and, knowing the likely danger to his colleagues, had run down to warn them only to be washed away as well in the violent wave. The fourth theory is based on the first-hand experiences of Mr. Walter Aldebert, a lighthouse keeper on the island from 1953 to 1957. He believed one man may have been washed into the sea, but then his companions who were trying to rescue him were washed away by more huge waves. Despite the official explanation, and being the subject of many books and the 2018 movie The Vanishing, what really happened to James Duquette, Thomas Marshall, and William MacArthur on that cold December night may never be solved.
It's been reported that aliens have abducted thousands of people all over the world. Many of these abductees claim to have been taken aboard spaceships where they were subjected to medical examinations and other experiments. Some say they were even impregnated by alien sperm and gave birth to strange-looking babies. While there's no proof that any of this is true, it makes for fascinating speculation. Perhaps the most famous alien abduction case is that of Betty and Barney Hill in 1961. The couple was driving through New Hampshire when they stopped for gas. While getting money from the attendant, Betty noticed a bright light in the sky and remarked that it looked like a cigar. Suddenly, both cars' engines died and an object landed nearby. The couple got out to investigate. The beings told the couple not to be afraid and explained that they were from a planet called Zeta Reticuli. They then led the couple to their spaceship, which resembled a giant saucer, and beamed them aboard using powerful tractor beams. The couple was subjected to a variety of tests and experiments, including a pregnancy test for Betty. After several hours, the aliens returned the couple to their car. The next day, Barney began having flashbacks to the previous night, and soon realized that he had been abducted by aliens. The couple shared their story with friends and family, but no one believed them until 1966 when they recounted their experience on a TV show called The UFO Evidence. Overnight, the Hills became famous, and their case is now considered to be one of the most important alien abduction cases ever investigated. Sarah Winchester. Sarah Winchester was the wife of John Winchester, the owner of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. When John died in 1876, Sarah took over the business and became one of the richest women in America. She was also one of the most superstitious. Sarah believed that the ghosts of everyone who had died from Winchester rifles were haunting her and her family, so she did something drastic. She sold her house and moved to San Francisco, where she began searching for a new home. She hired a psychic to help her find a place that was free of negative energy, and they eventually settled on a farmhouse in the town of New Haven, Connecticut. Sarah moved right in and began making changes. She had a series of rooms added onto the house to make it larger and more labyrinthine. She also hired a team of gardeners to maintain the grounds, which quickly grew to include manicured gardens, orchards, and vineyards. In addition to her staff, Sarah also had a huge number of animals, including dogs, cats, birds, and rabbits. She doted on her pets and often took them for walks around the property. All of this might seem idyllic by day, but at night it was far from that. Sarah was deeply disturbed, and her behavior became increasingly erratic. She began seeing ghosts everywhere and hearing voices telling her to run from the house. She spent more and more time in her room, eventually refusing to come out at all. She died in 1922, but her body was not discovered until 4 years later. Her estate was eventually sold, and the house was opened to the public as a museum. Visitors report feeling uneasy in the house, and some have even claimed to see Sarah Ayres' ghost wandering the halls. The ghost train. For decades, trains have been associated with death and the supernatural. For example, the ghost train, an apparition that is said to appear in the middle of the night and vanish without a trace by morning. Perhaps this is because train wrecks were common in the early 1900s, and the eerie whistle of an approaching locomotive has become synonymous with impending doom. If you hear the whistle of an approaching train in your dreams, don't be fooled by its ethereal beauty. For when the ghost train passes, it takes its passengers to an unknown destination, and no one ever returns. Bloody bones. The first time a new homeowner renovates a house, they usually expect to find some surprises. Old wiring, outdated fixtures, and maybe a hidden wall or two. But no one expects to find human bones. That's exactly what happened to one couple in Illinois, though when they decided to put their own personal touch on their new home. They tore down a closet only to reveal a set of human bones hidden behind the wall. It turned out that the bones belonged to an 11-year-old boy who had died in a house 100 years earlier. The boy had been the victim of foul play, and his killer had gone to great lengths to hide his body. The bones were eventually turned over to the authorities, but no one really knows what happened.
I hope you enjoy these short tales of the unexplained. Take a moment, if you will, to open your mind to the unusual. Immerse yourself in a world of paranormal possibilities. These tales have been rooted and documented in myths and legends since the dawn of time. Do these creatures and entities really exist? Experience chilling encounters of UFOs, crop circles, and alien abductions. Is intelligent life in this universe friendly or deadly to us? These tales will leave you torn with indecision. Tales from the Bermuda Triangle and the far seas, where ships and planes vanish without a trace under mysterious circumstances, never to be seen again. Experience the mysteries of time travel and tales of glitches in the Matrix and our journeys into alternate realities. Open up your mind to the realms and possibilities of creatures we know little about. Paranormal creatures that are ingrained in myth and legend. After all, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. So dim the lights, lock the door, pull up your blanket, and beware of the unknown.
What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments. If you want more real-life true mysteries, please subscribe, because sometimes the truth can be stranger than fiction. New tales every Thursday night. Subscribe if you dare.